and Caitlin are stuck in that tiny room, huh? Be grateful you even have a room.
No way. It's so sad for Amelia to be in such a cramped space.
While saying this, Pauline, my mother-in-law, looked down on me and my mom, laughing along with her. If you don't like it, feel free to leave, huh? Why not put your own mother in a retirement home?
How would you feel about doing to your mother what you tried to do to me?
Oh, when that time comes, make sure you pay for it yourself. She's your mother, after all. I reached my breaking point with the two of them laughing like that. Why should I pay for renovations for people like them? That's when we decided to take our revenge. My name is Sherry, and I'm turning 32 this year. I live with my mother, Caitlin, and Darius, enjoying peaceful days. After Darius's father passed away and the funeral was over, Darius said this to me.
Dad's gone, and Mom's feeling lonely. Think we could live together?
Turns out Darius, being the eldest son, was told by his sister that he should take care of his mother. At that time, I was also criticized for living with my mother. I don't mind, but it bothers me a bit that Amelia talks about our family.
Sorry, my sis is close to Mom and thinks she can say whatever she wants to me. If you're against it, it's okay to say no.
I worried about living with both sets of parents, wondering if my mom would mind. But since she said it was okay, we decided to let Pauline use the small guest room.
I'm truly sorry. Let me know if there's anything you need, anytime.
Pauline said that when she first agreed to move in. But things started to go awry when Amelia, the root of the problem, began to frequent our house. At first, I'm just worried about Mom. That was her reason for visiting. We didn't mind. Even when we weren't home, Mom was. But Amelia, for some reason, started making snide remarks to Mom.
Seems she doesn't like that I'm home all day without working.
Yeah, and she's here so often. Even stays for dinner. Can you believe it?
Caitlin, I'm sorry about this. I'll talk to her too.
Despite not being at fault, Darius felt the need to apologize after hearing about the situation from Mom. I was a bit dismayed at Amelia for not realizing how her behavior made her brother uncomfortable. Not long after this conversation, Amelia took an unbelievable step. I'm going to live here with Mom, too. What? Can you not decide that on your own, please? One day, Amelia arrived as usual, this time with a large suitcase and bags in tow. Without our permission, she laughed as if it was a matter of course and declared her intention. We were shocked, and I hurriedly stopped her from bringing the dirty suitcase into the room. What's your problem? Don't interfere. Please don't bring that dirty bag into the room. Dirty? What's wrong with putting my stuff in Mom's room? Her own daughter's things. First of all, Pauline is just a guest here, right? It's our room that we're lending. Could you not just make it your own? Look who's talking. Isn't your mother basically in the same boat? She yelled, and then shoved past me into the room. While cleaning the dirty hallway, I couldn't help but shake my head at Amelia's reasoning. How can Amelia speak like that? Does she not realize this is my house?
She forgets what's inconvenient for her. I'm sorry. I'll explain it to her again and tell her to leave.
Since Amelia started coming over, Darius had been constantly stressed. I had a talk with Darius about the household situation. Amelia, who had barged in, ignored it and grew even more agitated. Originally, Pauline was contributing to living expenses from her pension, but then Amelia started complaining. You don't even take proper care of Mom, and yet you have the nerve to take money? This made Pauline hesitant to contribute, even when we explained that the living expenses were fair for utilities and food. Charging for meals that aren't even that tasty? She mocked and laughed. When we suggested not providing meals, Amelia somehow twisted it into accusing Darius of mistreatment. It's because you're so meek that Sherry gets away with things, making life difficult for us.
What Sherry is saying is just common sense, sis. You're being too presumptuous.
I'm looking after Mom because you're pathetic. Instead of lecturing me, you should be grateful. On top of that, Amelia had moved in without asking, not contributing to living expenses or helping with household chores. With no income of her own, she took money from Pauline and went out at her leisure. Dinner! When she returned, she'd demand from me, Amelia, could you please help out around the house a bit? Oh, there she goes, the bossy sister-in-law being annoying again. Amelia is a parasite. She doesn't work, doesn't pay for living expenses, and it's problematic having her here. I'm here to take care of Mom. With a sister-in-law like you, who knows, Mom might be bullied behind the scenes. Amelia never listened to anything I said. Whatever I mentioned, I'm taking care of Mom. That was her vague excuse, despite the fact that Mom and I were the ones preparing meals and cleaning, even for Pauline's room. But even such a simple action, that's the wife's job, as expected, seemed to be dismissed with a nonchalant attitude, as if to say it was no big deal. Her unemployment only worsened with her spitefulness, and she even teamed up with Pauline. Pauline, who was always kind before, started to become bolder and more contrary in her presence, complaining about various things. She disliked the seasoning of the meals and would order delivery expecting me to pay for it. This led to numerous arguments involving Darius and Mom.
Sis, enough is enough. Do you even realize what you're doing?
Can't believe you have the nerve to talk back to your sister like that.
Really? Poor Amelia. Maybe I spoiled her too much for being the younger sibling. Mom, you're the one spoiling sis. Please apologize to Sherry.
Because of you, Sherry's getting too bold. I wish you'd step up and make things easier for Mom and the rest of us. Pauline and Amelia would often make demeaning remarks about me, getting above your station as a sister-in-law. Their words clearly conveyed a condescending attitude, looking down on the situation. Whenever Darius tried to argue back, especially Amelia would become heated, and the conversation would go nowhere. Despite repeated warnings about Amelia's laziness, Pauline would defend her, and they would gang up on Darius, making it necessary to ask Darius not to provoke them too much. Darius felt helpless against Amelia and Pauline's actions, and frequently apologized to me and Mom.
I regret not ignoring Sis's words. I should have never offered to take care of Mom.
Well, you would have been nagged about it forever anyway, so it's fine. But I really can't stand how they're taking advantage of us.
Caitlin, I'm truly sorry. I'll convince Mom to go to a retirement home or something. I'll persuade her.
But would those two even listen to you? Hearing this, Darius looked down, despondent. I knew it was tough to leave it all to Darius, especially seeing the tyranny of those two. While I was pondering over what to do, Amelia suddenly did something unbelievable. Sherry, I'm really sorry for everything. Excuse me? It was more like they initiated the conversation rather than just letting it happen. It was like she suddenly started apologizing to us one day. We were so surprised, we just looked at each other. What's going on? Nothing special, just wanted to apologize for the past. I see. You don't trust me, I know. That's why I brought a proposal to show my sincerity. A proposal? Yes, how about we renovate this house for your mother? Amelia kept talking, leaving us confused. She mentioned knowing an architect who could give us a good deal on the renovation estimates. I was skeptical, given Amelia's untrustworthiness. No, really, Sherry, I'm truly remorseful. Are you? That's why I brought this proposal. Even so, Amelia had already consulted about remodeling our house and brought blueprints. I was suspicious about how and when she had measured our house's layout. but I decided to look at the blueprints anyway. What do you think? Not bad, right? Indeed, it's appreciated that the layout could accommodate Mom's mobility issues, but... Right? I've been thinking this house is so old. It seems like it could make someone sick. But looking at this layout, I don't see a room for Pauline. That's fine. Mom says she'll go to a retirement home. What? I was shocked. Pauline, who had furiously argued with Darius, saying, "It's cruel to push her into a retirement home." I couldn't believe she would agree to such a thing. When I called Pauline to join the conversation, she indeed nodded in agreement with Amelia. Seeing Pauline's humble demeanor, so unlike when she first arrived, Mom and I exchanged puzzled glances. If Pauline is going to a facility, how will the expenses be managed? Well, I'll work and figure it out. You're going to work, Amelia? Given the circumstances, I can't exactly ask for money. I was prepared for Amelia to demand money, considering her past behavior of disrespecting us. Hearing her say something so responsible was almost like a dream. I need to find a job, so I'll need you to look after things until the renovation is done. That's okay, right? Well, I guess that's fine. Also, about the renovation costs, we can't afford it. So it's okay to ask you, right? It's about our home, so that's all right. Great. I was relieved to hear that you had been saving up. Who told you that? Oh, I heard it from Darius. Throughout, I was suspicious there might be an ulterior motive. However, the blueprint Amelia showed was indeed beneficial for Mom's needs. Most importantly, if it meant the two of them leaving our house, it was a welcome relief. That's what I ended up thinking. When I told Darius about it after he returned from work, he had the same suspicion.
Doesn't it sound suspicious?
When asked if Amelia had told him about my savings for the renovation, he quickly denied it.
Did she sneak a look at your bank statements?
I can't believe she would do that. At least I hope not. There were plenty of reasons to be suspicious, now that I think about it. Mom and I discussed it, and eventually agreed that the renovation itself was a good idea. During the renovation period, Amelia claimed she was job hunting and seemed to be going out regularly. When she returned, "I can't find a job that suits me," she would report to Mom.
When you hear that so many times, it almost sounds like she's just pretending to look for work.
And Mom was laughing about it. Mom was skeptical, noting that despite saying she was going to the nearby job center, Amelia always returned home late. Darius, unconvinced, bitterly remarked,
"She's just taking money from Mom and going out."
And Mom was laughing about it. I have to consider Mom's expenses too. I can't just take any job.
By the way, we've decided where Mom will go for her retirement home.
We still have time during the renovation, so it doesn't matter yet.
We should decide soon for the admission process and other arrangements.
Why did Sherry ask you to check? Where she goes is none of your business. Even as the renovation neared completion, there was no word on Amelia's job or Pauline's facility. I was worried, as Darius mentioned, but when I asked, "Don't worry about it. It'll be nice not to have a bothersome mother-in-law around," she just evaded. In hindsight, I should have pushed harder for answers. As the renovation was about to finish, their attitude suddenly changed. The large accessible room intended for Mom was now for Pauline, and another room was claimed by Amelia. Finally, I was so tired of being considerate towards Sherry.
What are you saying? You've been deceiving us all along?
Saying I'm deceiving you sounds so malicious. Didn't I always say putting Mom in a facility would be cruel? Have you forgotten? But you agreed to leave our house after the renovation, right? Are you seriously trying to kick out Darius's family? Are you that terrible a wife? Only caring about your own mother?
People like you. I don't care about it all. Get out now. How can you talk like that to your own family?
This is what happens when you marry someone like her. You just get worse. After enduring so much from those two brazen people, their true nature isn't going to change so easily. Knowing all this, yet still hoping things would work out smoothly, was foolish of me. They pointed at the blueprint and mocked me. You and Caitlin can have the tiny storage room. Be thankful you even have a room.
Oh, come on, Amelia. That's too cruel.
Even as they said this, Pauline laughed along with them, looking down on me and Mom. If you don't like it, you can leave. Why not put your own mother in a retirement home?
How would you feel about doing to your mother what you tried to do to me?
Oh, but make sure you pay for it yourself. She's your mother, after all. I reached my breaking point with their laughter. Why should I pay for renovations for such people? It was then, as I trembled with the urge to slap their faces and physically force them out, that, before I could react, Darius started to stand up, but Mom quietly stopped him and whispered to me. I looked at her in shock, and she nodded with a smile. Then I turned to them and said, Fine, we'll leave.
Jerry, what are you saying?
Ignoring a confused Darius, Mom and I got up and went back to our room. Darius followed us, desperate and exhausted, and confronted me.
Jerry, what are you thinking? You don't have to listen to them.
Then what? Do you think those two will ever leave this house?
But still.
It's okay, Darius. Leave it to me.
Caitlin.
Mom said that with a laugh and brought something from a shelf drawer to show Darius. At first, Darius was really surprised, but after Mom and I persuaded him, he finally accepted it. That's how we started our revenge against those two who were so shamelessly taking advantage of someone else's home. As expected, when the renovation was complete, those two had secretly prepared keys to the new house for themselves. Seeing the missing luggage for the two of them and their detestable note, I sighed. It was just like them, using such cowardly tactics.
You sure about this, Caitlin?
It's fine. We had already made up our minds to some extent. Sooner is better. Get the car ready, Darius.
Jerry, do. I'm sorry for my family.
It's okay. I realized you couldn't handle them.
They're not my family. My family is just you and Caitlin.
Yeah. Once Mom made up her mind, she was incredibly quick to take action. Mom handled the proceedings so efficiently, as if she had been preparing for this for a long time, swiftly completing most of the process. Though I felt bad for leaving everything to her. Seeing her satisfied look, I couldn't say anything. About 2 weeks after that, those two realized our retaliation. Wait, what on earth did you two do? What do you mean? Is something wrong? Our house got seized. You two must have done something. They had rushed over here in disheveled attire, and I couldn't help but laugh. To avoid causing a scene at the front door, I let them into the house for now. Seized? That's a misunderstanding. We just sold the house. Sold? Why? Why, you ask? Because that annoying unemployment situation. What? You, as a daughter-in-law, acting so high and mighty? I've said it many times. But that house is my property. I inherited it from Dad. So neither you nor Darius have any rights to it. Huh? But houses belong to the one who earns the most. You're interpreting things to suit your convenience too much. According to Amelia, she seemed to want to claim that the house belonged to the one who earned the most, Darius, and therefore it belonged to their family, including themselves. Their self-serving arguments left us speechless. You deceived us. How low can you go? What are you talking about deceiving? Whatever. But the house is going to be sold, so please leave as soon as possible. That's so inconvenient. We even bought new furniture, and we really don't have the money. I won't take away your personal belongings, but if you've caused any damage to the house, you'll have to compensate for it. Don't mess with me. Who's messing with whom? After doing whatever you pleased in someone else's home? Since I hadn't seen them do any housework properly before, the inside of the house was probably in a terrible state. Mom had taken care of that as well. If someone breaks in and lives in our house without permission, we won't hesitate to hand them over to the police. She seemed quite flustered as everything was arranged that way. Do you really think you can get away with doing whatever you want as a daughter-in-law? It's actually you who's been doing whatever you wanted all this time. Then give us this apartment. We were only planning to stay here during the renovation, but we'll stay here instead. Feel free to do so. We'll be moving soon, so the room will be vacant. Oh, you can handle the rental contract yourself. Moving? Where are you planning to go? I'm not going to tell you. Amelia, who was looking around the empty room filled with cardboard boxes, was taken aback. Seemingly understanding the situation, Amelia and Pauline, who could no longer persist in staying in our house or clinging to our family, turned pale instantly. This is a joke, right? It's not a joke. Darius also plans to cut ties with you. Please don't say that. We're a family, aren't we?
Family? You, who have insulted people, caused trouble, and can't even apologize?
Finally understanding that we were serious, the two of them started apologizing in a hurry. Words trying to soothe me and Mom poured out one after another, but they didn't have the slightest effect. Wait, please, really. Mom's legs are bad, and it would be a problem if she can't stay in that house. Then how about a retirement home? Of course the expenses will be covered by you at that time. It's only natural, right? She's your mother. Even though it was revengeful words, saying it out loud made me realize that it was indeed a cruel thing to say. As I frowned at their unpleasant words, the two of them looked at each other and, "It's your fault," and began to argue and hurl insults at each other. Seeing this, Mom, who had been silent throughout, finally exploded in anger. Disgusting! A person with a twisted personality who only spends other people's money shouldn't be making a fuss. Besides, whether my daughter has good or bad manners is the mother's responsibility. How dare you, after raising such a pitiful daughter, who can't even properly raise her own child, and can only engage in ugly quarrels, have the audacity to speak so arrogantly to someone else's daughter." Her expression was so intense that Amelia and Pauline were left speechless. Pauline, apparently deeply affected by Mom's scolding, sat down on the floor, becoming smaller, and repeatedly apologized in a quiet voice while keeping her head down. Amelia, too, seemed hurt by being referred to as a pitiful daughter by Mom's scolding, and had become similarly subdued. As compensation for doing as they pleased in someone else's home, we gave them a deadline to clean the house before kicking them out. They resisted the idea of cleaning for a while, but the mention of legal action made them comply. Thanks to the renovation, we were able to sell the house at a price close to that of a new one. With that money, Mom moved to an apartment she had been eyeing away from the local area. As for Amelia and Pauline, they now live together in an old apartment. Sometimes Darius, who hasn't blocked their messages, "I want to apologize to Sherry." But when asked if they're willing to pay compensation,
"Are you ready to pay damages?"
the replies suddenly stop, or so I've heard.